Hi, I'm Professor Shanky. In this video, I want to cover a little bit about the different types of databases and some of the common elements in relational databases. So a database is really just a storage of information. There are several types of databases out there, ranging from a flat file to a relational or an object-oriented database. There are other types out there. However, the most commonly used ones today, when we consider and think about a database in the traditional means, are the object-oriented database and the relational database. Now, this course we're going to be working with relational databases, but before we go there, I just want to talk a little bit about what an object-oriented database is, so you have an understanding when you hear that term. So an object-oriented database is really a collection of information that isn't necessarily related to each other. You can think of this in terms of big data and business intelligence, where we might be taking data from cash register receipts and match that with data from our inventory and maybe match that with data from our suppliers. So we have three different data sources that are coming in, and they're not really related to each other, but we can use advanced techniques to make those relationships happen. Now, the flip side of that, what we're dealing with in this course, is the relational database. And a relational database simply means that all the data that we store in this database is related to each other. In other words, we might have an inventory database. So an inventory database would have items. It would have locations. It might have suppliers. It might also have customers. So most of the tables that we have in our relational database are related to another table, and hence the word relational databases. The technical differences between a database and a database management system. A database is the data itself. It's kind of an abstract thought. It could be the bits, the ones and zeros on your storage device, but the database management system is the software that we use to manage and work with that database. So some examples of a DBMS could be Oracle, Microsoft Access, DB2. There's a lot of different database systems out there. So just so you understand the difference in terminology, when we talk about a database, we're usually talking about the actual data and its relation and how it's built. So the structure of that data is a database. Database management systems, or the DBMS, is what allows us to work with that. So Oracle is not a database. Oracle is a database management system. Microsoft Access is not a database, but we use Microsoft Access as a database management system to manage Access databases. Some of the common terms that you'll find with a relational database are fields, records, tables, and the database itself. Now, you might hear different variations depending upon what database management system you're using, but in general, the smallest bit of information is going to be at the field level. This is generally representing some form of data, such as first name, last name, eye color, date of birth, things like that. And when you think about it with a field, the data itself is meaningless. In other words, if I were just to walk up to you and say, blue, 6'2", what does that mean? Really, it means nothing, because they're just abstract pieces of data. But what we do in a relational database systems, we take pieces of data and we combine them together to create what's called a record. So a record might be person. And within the person record, we have multiple fields that are related. We have first name, last name, date of birth, eye color, height. So now if I refer to the person, I can get all that information about them. So you can kind of see this hierarchy of data. The smaller or the lower end of the hierarchical scale, the less we know. It's data, and it moves all the way up from the field to the record. We put multiple records into a table. So a table could be students. And within the students table, we have many records of the actual student. And within the student record, we have multiple fields. We would have student ID, first name, last name, etc., etc. And where do these tables live? They all live within the database. So at the high end of the hierarchy level is the database, which has everything within it. A database has tables. Within tables we have records, and within records we have fields. You have knowledge, information, and wisdom. So the lowest thing that we can have is knowledge. Knowledge just means we know about something, and that's going to be... So another way of looking at these relationships are, think about it in terms of data, information, knowledge, and wisdom. Right? When you have just the data itself, it's kind of useless. But when you package a bunch of data together, you have information about something. So that's our field and our records. So once you have a lot of information about things, you have knowledge. So knowledge is the next tier. Knowledge is kind of like our tables, where we have a lot of information, so we know something about these. We can see some relationships, so we know, oh, those are students. And finally, wisdom. Wisdom only comes with expertise of working with the knowledge, and I kind of like to equate that to maybe that is akin to these queries that we're going to be writing later on, is how we extract the data. So you have to kind of know what the data is, what the information's held, and have some knowledge about that before you can have the wisdom to write your queries. So I hope this helps a little bit in describing how a database operates, the different components of it. Now there's a lot more in depth we're going to cover later on, but for now, just understand that when we're talking about a database, we're usually talking about the core of that, which is our data. Data lives in records, records live in tables, and tables live within the database. Thanks for watching. If you like this video, please be sure to leave a like and subscribe for more videos. I'm Professor Shanky, and I'll see you next time.